We'll get started and finish up 18.3 today. And then next week, we're going to do 18.5 and 18.6. We're going to skip 18.4. So we'll have class on Monday and Tuesday next week and do 18.5 and 18.6. Today, we're going to do 18.3. So for 18.3, it's about viral diseases. And we're going to talk about different kinds of viruses and ways to treat and prevent viruses. Some viral diseases can be prevented by vaccines. So a vaccine is used to make you immune to a virus you don't already have. So if you have, if you have chickenpox, for example, a vaccine isn't going to help you at that point. Now, if you don't have chickenpox, a vaccine for chickenpox can keep you immune from it. But after you have that disease, or in the midst of that disease, a vaccine won't do you any good. So vaccines can prevent diseases, but they don't treat disease. Now, antibiotics, though, are different. Antibiotics can treat disease, but they don't treat viruses. They can only attack bacteria. So strep, for example, is a bacterial infection. Antibiotics can destroy the strep bacteria, which caused that disease. But antibiotics do not work against viruses. So we don't usually have good treatment for a virus. Usually if you have the cold or the flu, you just let it run its course. I mean, you just rest and your body will take over and destroy the virus for you. But there isn't much medicine you can take. Tamiflu is one medicine you can take for the flu that can help treat the virus. But for the most part, we don't have good medicine that can treat viruses. Antibiotics are used for bacteria and not for viruses. But vaccines can help you be immune to a virus before you get it. Now, viruses can only penetrate the skin through an opening. So the skin is your first defense against a virus. And if a virus only stays in your skin, it's not going to hurt you. It has to go into your body for it to affect you. Now, it can do that in several ways. It can go through an open wound. So if you have a cut or a scrape open, then a virus will enter your body that way. And that's why it's important to always keep cuts bandaged up, to keep neosporin on the wounds or peroxide. That helps keep out any infection that you could have, because it's an opening to your body and bacteria and viruses can get into that opening. But if your skin is intact, then you're not going to have bacteria or viruses enter into your body. They can enter through your mouth, your eyes, your nose, your ears, any opening in your body it can enter through. And that's why you probably heard about don't touch your face, especially if you're, oh, sorry about that. Didn't turn my phone off. So you might have heard the recent advice about not touching your face. And they say that because that's how a virus gets into your body. And if it's just on your hand, the virus isn't going to infect you. It has to enter your body through an opening. So if you have it on your hands and you wash your hands, you won't get sick. Now, what can also happen, though, is that you have the virus in your hands and then you touch your nose, the virus will then enter through your nose into your body. Ears is another way that they enter. Earbuds especially, it's important that you make sure that your phone and your earbuds are clean regularly, because viruses can enter very easily through that opening in your body. Does everybody have this one down?
Yes.
Now, there are many kinds of viral infections. We're going to go through a few today. We'll go through more next week as well. The common cold, also called the rhinovirus. I'll write that on here. So it's called the rhinovirus because rhino means nose. It's a virus that goes through your nose and infects your nose. There are many different kinds of cold viruses and mutates very quickly, and that's why it's so common to have. There isn't any good vaccine against it because there are just so many different kinds of colds out there. But thankfully, it's usually pretty mild and you get over it in about a week or so. And usually it's not a serious infection. It's usually pretty mild. Another virus, influenza, and that causes the flu. There are usually three main kinds of influenza strains: flu A, B, and C. And the flu can be more serious than the cold. It infects many people throughout the year, and about 28,000 or so will die from the flu in the United States every year. So it is a very serious infection, especially if you have other complications. If you're older or you have diabetes or asthma, things like that can complicate the infection and make it harder to treat. Another virus is SARS, and that stands for severe acute respiratory syndrome. And this is a disease that first emerged in 2002, and we haven't seen much of it since 2003. So at the time it was a pandemic, it spread throughout the world, but it's been since contained. It hasn't really reemerged since 2003. Another infection, HIV, you can see it right here. It's in blue. It's attacking a white blood cell. HIV stands for the human immunodeficiency virus. So because it attacks white blood cells, it destroys the immune system in the body. Somebody with HIV would be more prone to other infections. And there's no defense against even mild infections like the cold. So HIV attacks the white blood cells. HIV is a retrovirus. It uses RNA to make DNA. And that's the reverse of how it usually works. We learned before that usually DNA makes RNA, but in this case, the RNA in the HIV virus makes DNA. And so it's called retro because retro in this case means backwards. It does opposite of what normally happens. HIV causes AIDS. AIDS stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. So somebody can have the HIV virus in their body and it's not active, in which case they would be called HIV positive, but they wouldn't have AIDS. They have AIDS when that virus becomes active. So we learned yesterday about the lysogenic cycle and the lytic cycle. HIV can stay in the lysogenic cycle for a long time, 10, 15, 20 years sometimes. And if it stays in that situation, then it won't hurt the body. So a person can have HIV for a very long time and not have any symptoms, in which case they wouldn't have AIDS. They would have HIV present, but they wouldn't have the disease. It's only when it becomes active that it goes from HIV positive to AIDS. An epidemic is a rapid outbreak of an infection that affects many people. So you can see on here what epidemic would be in one location. In that one location, there are a lot of disease. There's lots of people infected with a certain disease. Now, a pandemic would be global. It would be in several countries. So there'd be several outbreaks, several epidemics in parts of the world. So pan means everywhere. And that's what a pandemic means, is that you have a large scale infection. Now, it doesn't mean that it's a serious infection. It doesn't mean that it's a life-threatening infection. It just means that there are a lot of people who have it all over the world. Does everybody have these down? Okay, so a vaccine can stimulate the body's own immune response against invasion by microbes. So it's generally a weakened form of the virus in the vaccine, or it could be parts of a virus or chemicals that look like a virus. So you won't get sick from the vaccine, but the body thinks it's going to get sick. So the body's going to attack that vaccine as if it's the real virus. And what it's doing is it's throwing different chemicals at the virus to see what deactivates it. And it's just going through every chemical it can make and learning what it does. And when the body learns what chemical will deactivate the virus, then it remembers it. And so in the future, if you get the real virus, the body knows right away what to do. It makes that chemical right away, and you won't get sick. And so you get immune from a virus that way. Now, if you get the real virus, though, without the vaccine, the body might not have time to find the right chemical to treat it, in which case you can get really sick because the body is trying to find the right chemical to kill the virus and it can't find it in time. And so that's when you get the infection, that's when you get sick. Now, you get better when the body eventually learns what to do. And so once the body finds the right chemical to deactivate the virus, you get better, you get over the disease. And once you do, you're now immune to that because the body now remembers what chemical it can use to kill the virus. And so that's what we're seeing on here. These orange triangles are the chemicals that the body uses to deactivate viruses. They're called antibodies. So a vaccine is used to stimulate antibodies. And you can see on here that the virus is deactivated when they're surrounded by antibodies. Because remember yesterday I showed you that video where these pricks or these things stick out here are like keys that allow the virus to enter into the cell. And so these keys let them entry into the cell, which is how they infect the body. If they're blocked, then the virus can't get into the cell because they don't have the key. And so that's how antibodies deactivate the virus. The virus is still present, but it's surrounded by antibodies, and so it has no entry into the cell. It can't make you sick. So a vaccine, because the body learns how to treat that virus, it makes the body immune to that disease. Now, it only works for that one strain, though. We have different kinds of flu. We have flu A and flu B. And so you might have a flu shot against flu A, but you can get sick from flu B because flu B is a different strain of the virus and it has different surface proteins. So it needs to have a different chemical to deactivate it. And that's why most flu shots do give you 3 strains of virus. They usually do give you flu A, B, and C, at least, if not a few kinds of flu A and flu B. And so it could be 3 to 5 viruses you get immune from with the flu vaccine. But even still, there are other kinds of flu out there that you might not be immune to. So you can get the flu vaccine and possibly still get sick from the flu because it will be a different strain than the vaccine had. So every year, scientists try to predict what strains of flu will be out there and infect people. But it's possible that a different strain is out there that could make you sick with the flu. So that's why sometimes you can still get sick with the flu, even with a flu shot. Because while you have immunity against certain strains of flu, there could be other ones that scientists didn't predict that are out there. Now, vaccines are made from weakened pathogens. And so this is usually a weakened virus that is in the vaccine, or it's a dead virus, or it's parts of a virus. So the vaccine's purpose is to prepare your body for a future attack. It's the body thinks it's the real thing. It thinks it has the real virus, so it acts as if it does by sending out chemicals to destroy it. But you won't get sick from it. And so while your body is fighting off this virus, the virus is dead and it won't make you sick. These are some common viral infections: chickenpox. And we'll talk more about these next week as far as what they look like and how to treat them. But chickenpox is a rash. It's an itchy rash, usually all over your body, with red bumps. You have a fever and you're tired. Hepatitis A attacks your liver. That can cause yellow skin, fatigue, abdominal pain. Mumps, and this is pretty rare now, but mumps is a disease that makes your chin and your neck swell up. Rabies, also incredibly rare now, but rabies is a disease that is very dangerous. It's found more in animals than in humans, but it can cause anxiety, it can paralyze you, and usually it's from having animals bite you that rabies can be transmitted. Now we have vaccines against rabies, and so it's very treatable as long as you have the vaccine. Without the vaccine, it can be incredibly fatal. But with the vaccine, you don't have very many symptoms. West Nile virus, it's in mosquitoes, and that causes fever, headache, and body ache. We don't have a vaccine against West Nile because it just mutates so fast. but it's another virus that you can find in mosquitoes.
Do we have like a cure or whatever for hepatitis, the second one?
Oh, for hepatitis A?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for that one, we do have a vaccine for it. So if you don't have hepatitis A, you can get a vaccine that will prevent you from having that one. Now, if you already have hepatitis, we don't have a cure for it, but we do have some antiviral medications that can um, help treat it. But these can be serious. You might require hospitalization for any hepatitis, whether it's A, B, or C. But usually with rest, the body can fight it off, but you might need hospitalization if it gets more serious. So the thing with viruses, we don't have good treatments against viruses, but most of the time, if you have your body just rest, it can fight it off for you. But some of these can be for life, and hepatitis can stay in your body for life, but become inactive over time. As I mentioned before, antibiotics are used for bacterial infections. So they can't be used against viruses. So anything on here that we listed, chickenpox, hepatitis, mumps, rabies, those are all viruses, and antibiotics don't work against viruses. Also, cold and flu also can't be treated with viruses, with antibiotics. Vaccines are not useful if you already have the virus. So if you are sick with the flu, a flu shot isn't going to help you, because a flu shot's purpose is to have you learn how to fight the virus off before you get the virus. But if you already are sick with the virus, your body's already trying to fight it off. Your body's looking for the right chemical to deactivate the virus. The flu shot will only make it worse and not better. Okay, so that's it for our slideshow today. Homework is on page 520, 1 through 5. And then just again for next week, we're going to do 18.5, skip 18.4, and then go on 18.6.
So will we have our tests next week?
No, it won't be next week because we're only going to have class on Monday and Tuesday next week because it's Holy Week. So we won't have the test until after Easter. It'll be the week after Easter.
Okay.
And the homework is 18.3, right?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, 18.3, 1 through 5. Yes.
Okay, thank you.